So you already kind of mentioned that it is about liability. So would you go ahead and kind of explain the difference between what a first-party liability and a third-party liability is in terms of dram shop?
Certainly. It's basically what we consider a third-party liability, which means they weren't directly involved with the negligent act that took place. Let's use as an example. You're struck by a driver. You're driving along, and a driver hits your car, and they're found to be under the influence of alcohol, DUI. So that gives a heightened awareness in terms of the type of claim that you can do, because now you can trace back as to where did that person get the alcohol that made him intoxicated. And if you can trace that back to a business establishment, and then you can trace it to find out that the business establishment knowingly gave him more alcohol than they should, given his condition, we can hold the business establishment liable for his actions. So they're kind of like the third person. They weren't involved in the car accident itself, but they're the ones that help that person, if you will, get intoxicated, which then caused the accident. So that is the most common way that dram shop liability comes into play. There are requirements, though. You have to show and demonstrate that the establishment knowingly continued to give liquor to the person when he appeared obviously intoxicated. And that's usually done through witnesses. Sometimes these establishments have video cameras. I had a case a number of years ago where the person became intoxicated, got into a fight with this elderly gentleman at the establishment, punched him, and actually killed the person. It was a one punch, just happened to hit him in the right spot, and the person fell and hit the ground. We actually had video surveillance that we got from the establishment that showed that this person was obviously intoxicated. Being intoxicated is something that the average person can see. It doesn't take an expert to know when somebody's intoxicated. And we can see on the video that even though this person was obviously intoxicated, the bartenders kept on serving him liquor. We actually can see that. And it wasn't like he was asking for it almost. They were just kind of bringing it to him and giving it to him. So that was an easy case in terms of proving the liability side, that they gave the alcohol to a knowingly intoxicated person. The other way you can establish liability is if you find out, say the person that struck you when they were intoxicated is under the age of, under the drinking age, is a minor. Well, then you can go back and find out where did they get that liquor from. And it's even more than just doing it from a bar or a restaurant establishment. You can even go to an ABC store or any store that sold liquor to the minor. Now, they can say, well, we didn't know they were a minor. But a lot of times, again, it's obvious that a person is using a fake ID. And that's why a lot of establishments basically card you if you look like you're under the age of 35.
You're talking about the scan function.
Yeah.
And that's a database that they use to reference. It's a government program?
That I'm not.
You're not too sure?
I'm not sure of. But this normally happens. In fact, take a case where a person goes into a Parker convenience store, a minor, and they purchase a bunch of beer, and the Parker store, say, doesn't even card them, or is there obviously a minor and it obviously have what looks like a fake ID, but they sell them the beer anyways, and then that person gets into an accident later on. You can go back and hold Parker's liable for selling the liquor to a minor.
So the fact that they're using a fake ID doesn't affect their liability in that case against the establishment?
Yeah, only to the extent that it wouldn't have been obvious to the person. But again, then you go into training, because you can do in terms of the how did Parker train their employees to be on the lookout for not selling liquor to minors? What steps do they take if they're suspicious about it? Do they err on the side of caution? So there's a lot of aspects you can get into in order to prove the liability aspect of that. And the same holds true for a bar or a restaurant that would serve a minor. They're going to be liable if that minor then gets into an accident and it's shown that the accident was caused by them being intoxicated.